You say you want strength, but your routine is built like a shrine to delay. Marcus Aurelius gives a cleaner rule. Death is not terrible to the man who calls good only what nature asks in season. Your task is not to stay. Your task is to serve your part well, then leave without complaint. Marcus wrote this as emperor, but the sentence was forged far from marble comfort. He wrote in campaign quarters with damp wool, ash in the brazier, and reports of loss on the table. Men freeze, rot, panic, flatter, and die around rulers too. The purple never canceled mortality. It only exposed character under a brighter lamp. Epictetus taught the same law from the opposite station. A crippled former slave, a man who knew what it meant to have no command over the body, the room, the hour. In his school, students sat on plain stools and learned that prohirasis remains free when chains, sickness, and dismissal arrive uninvited. Marcus asks a hard question. Even those who worshipped pleasure often met death with composure. So why does the disciplined man tremble? If people mistaken about the good could still scorn death, what excuse remains for the student who claims to know that virtue alone is good? Then he tightens the blade. If only what is seasonable in nature is good. Death enters the argument differently. Ripeness is not an insult to fruit. Dusk does not wrong the day. The Stoic does not call every ending pleasant. He calls it fitting when it arrives by the order of the whole. He gives the image plainly. You are a citizen in the great city of the world. Nature brought you in, as a magistrate brings an actor on stage. Nature sends you out. The complaint sounds childish once you hear it clearly. The play is unfinished, you say. 3 acts may be the whole play. The false belief is older than Rome. A man thinks length makes life valuable. He counts years, the way a miser counts coins in a locked room. Seneca struck at this in his letters. Life is long enough for the person who uses it properly. Waste, not brevity, makes death appear like theft. Another error sits deeper. You treat death as a personal insult, as if the world signed a secret contract with your wishes. It did no such thing. The Stoa taught the dichotomy of control for this reason. You govern judgment, choice, conduct. You do not govern term limits, diagnoses, weather, war, or the hour of departure. I learned this slowly, and slower than pride would like to admit. Years ago, I sat beside a hospital bed, listening to a machine mark each breath with a dry click. The room smelled of bleach and warmed plastic. All my arguments collapsed there. Love remained, control did not. Carry this into ordinary life, or it stays ornamental. The meeting goes badly. Months of work are reduced to one cold reply and a closed folder. You feel the old demand rise, more time, another chance, a fairer hearing. Marcus would ask whether your part was honest, disciplined, and complete. Or take betrayal. A friend lies, a partner leaves, a father begins to disappear inside age, though his body still sits at the table under the kitchen light. Here, death appears in fragments before the funeral ever comes. The Stoic response is not numbness. It is accuracy. Grieve what is leaving. Do not call it impossible. Practice begins before crisis. At night, by lamplight or the dim square of a window, write one sentence by hand on a page or wax tablet. If I am dismissed soon, what remains mine to do well tomorrow? Keep it small. One duty, one conversation, one honest correction. Second practice, use premeditatio malorum without theater. Sit still for 3 minutes. Name what can go wrong. Name what stays in your command if it does. This strips surprise of its vanity. You stop asking the world to obey a script. Third practice, once each week, walk somewhere quiet without music, without company, without the narcotic of constant input. A peristyle, a street before sunrise, the edge of a park in winter. Repeat the line under your breath. I was called here for a time. I can be called away. The principle becomes hardest under fresh grief, when the body is still warm. Philosophy can sound like dry reeds rubbed together. Epictetus knew this danger. He never asked students to pretend. He asked for right use of appearances. The first wave hits. Let it hit. Then examine the judgment riding behind it. Public failure is another hard test. A man loses position, income, title, reputation. He feels erased. Yet Marcus sat close to power and still wrote like a servant of nature, not its owner. The senator's bench, the office door, the respect of peers. These are borrowed garments. They will be taken back. So the close is simple. The lamp burns, then gutters. The scroll is rolled shut. If you have lived as a decent citizen of this larger city, dismissal is not punishment. It is procedure. Name the obstacle you keep avoiding. Out loud, in writing.